Hello and Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is Sir Waqas Khan and welcome back to English Language 101. So in today's lecture, we will be covering the essentials of narrative writing. Now, as most of you are familiar with narrative writing, I'll quickly go through the basic concepts. So narrative writing is basically a style of writing in which you're narrating, in which there is a narration, in which there is a story, in which there's a plot, in which there may be horror, in which there may be adventure, in which there might be murder, there might be romance, there might be a thriller. Narrative writing is one of the most sought after type of narrative writing. A lot of you, I am assuming, are very good at narrative writing. So narrative writing is basically where your creative skills come to the test. It's basically one of those writings, it's one of those essays in which you have the freedom to write, in which you have the freedom to develop your plot as you wish. You want it to become a horror story? It's on you. You want it to become humorous? It's on you. You want it to become scary, thriller, romance, murder, whatever you want it to be. The feel is all yours. This is what narrative writing is all about. So, how do you actually go about writing a narrative essay? Now, that's one of the most important things. So, narrative writing consists of a setting, a theme, a mode. It's basically where is your story taking place? What's the ambience like? And ambience is basically your environment. What is the theme of your story? Is it about a backstabbing friend? Is it about a loyal friend? Is it about the person who you trusted the most yet he betrayed you? Is it about the person you thought was real yet he was just a fragment of your imagination? What is the theme of your story? The mode is basically how do you actually want your plot to be? What is your entire environment like? Then you have your characters and your plots. Now, you have a protagonist, you have an antagonist. You want to add a plot twist? That's on you. A plot twist is basically where the reader is assuming something to happen, but that thing does not happen. That's a plot twist. You were out there playing cricket with your friends, right? So one of your friends goes missing. You go and search for him in the woods. You come back, you're worried, you're frightened, you cannot find him. You ask all your friends, have you seen XYZ? All your friends look at you amazed, surprised. They tell you, he has been dead since 10 years. This is a plot twist, right? So a plot twist is basically one where you create an entire suspense. Then what you have next is you have a thesis, you have a transition, and then you have a conclusion. First things first, how do you actually frame your narrative essay? A narrative essay can be framed as like in a pyramid format. It can be a 5-paragraph method as well. As in, the first paragraph you'll have would be your introduction. Now, your introduction needs to be concise. It needs to be very crisp. It needs to get to the point, yet it needs to have the hook. That is what your introduction needs to have. And hook is basically an attention grabber. Your first line should not be something like, it was a very beautiful day. Like, that's very cliche. That's very boring. You got to make it fun. You got to make it interesting. You got to make your reader read further on. Your first line, your attention grabber could be, all's well that ends well. Your attention grabber could be, I could feel fear running down my spine. Your attention grabber could be, I always thought he was my friend, yet he was never my friend. Full stop. So these are all your narrative hooks. These are your attention grabbers, and they all come in the first line of your introduction. Then these are the further examples that you have of a good hook, as you can see on your screens. I'll give you guys like 3 to 4 seconds to read them. And we move. Okay, followed by your hook, followed by your introduction, you have your thesis. Your thesis is basically the main idea. It's basically the crust of your entire plot. It basically tells what your entire plot is. Your thesis is normally in your main body. Your main body is your paragraph 2, 3, 4, depending upon you, even paragraph 5 as well. This is basically a thesis. On your screens, you now have your thesis statements. I'll give you guys again 4 to 5 seconds to read them along, and then I'll move on. Okay. Your main body is basically your plot. Where is your plot going? Who is in your plot? What is your plot all about? Is there a time order? Now that's a very interesting concept that you have. There are quite a lot of movies that you must have seen in which the ending comes first and then you get the entire narration of the movie. There are lots of movies in which you join the movie from the middle, then you reverse back towards the start and then you move forward. So these are basically those movies where the chronological or the time order does not exist, where the first event does not happen first, rather the first event happens in the middle. I'll give you a few examples further on. Now, you need to have transitional sentences, you need to have transitional words. Now, transitional sentences and transitional words are basically those connecting lines, those connecting words that actually connect or link paragraph 1 with paragraph 2 with 3, and so on and so forth. Conclusion. Now, again, the concluding paragraph does not need to have a new point. It needs to be a concluding paragraph. It needs to be a paragraph in which you're not telling about anything new, rather you're ending up the entire thing. You're wrapping your entire plot, right? So now I'm going to show you a few examples, if I may. Okay. Now, this is one more thing that I wanted to show you guys. Your openings, your narrative hooks, your attention grabbers. They may be a catchphrase, they may be a thematic sentence, they may be a thesis sentence. They need to be an attention grabber. It may even be a rhetorical question. I hope you guys know what a rhetorical question is. A rhetorical question is one that does not need to be answered. You may even start your opening with a quote as well if you want. Now, coming towards your plot, as you can see on your screens, right? So a plot, a very simple plot would be one that comprises of point A to point B and point C. Happy family, maybe there's a plot twist, there's an accident, then there's a conclusion. Maybe everyone dies, maybe one of the people die, right? That's a very basic story. Then you have a point C to point A. Now this is basically one where you actually write about from the middle, right? It could be a narrative essay in which something has already happened and now you're narrating the entire story, right? Okay, one of the few things that I do not like my students doing at all, right? These are things that are severe no-nos, man. Do not write, "It was a lovely day," right? That's very cliche. It's one of those sentences that's overused. I do not recommend my students to start off in this manner. Do not write, "I woke up and it was a beautiful day." Now, please don't do that. That's again very cliche. Never start off your paragraph with an AS. Never start off with an AS. That's weak. That's very weak. Again, if you want to convert your story into a direct to indirect or an indirect speech to a direct speech, please make sure it's completely converted and not half conversion. That again makes you lose marks. Now on your screens you have a CAE past paper question. Along with that question, you have a few sample plots that my students wrote. Now, so the highlighted portion, the portion in red is basically the question that you have when an accident in a restaurant led to a very embarrassing situation. And these 3 paragraphs that you see on your screens are basically the plots that my student wrote. Now, I'll give you guys a few seconds to read them along or screenshot them or pause the video and then read it, whatever is feasible for you guys. The reason behind showing you this is so that you realize that there are multiple ways as to how you can approach a narrative essay. There are multiple plots. It doesn't have to be the same continuous plot in which there's a happy ending, in which everything goes good. It doesn't have to be that way. If you want, you may add a plot twist. If you want, you may have a dark ending. If you want, there may be a lesson in the end. It all depends upon you. You are the creator of your own work, and that's what you need to realize. Right, I hope you guys understood today's lecture. I hope you guys have a better understanding as to what you can do, what boundaries you do have and what boundaries you do not have in narrative writing. See you guys very soon. Have a good day. Allah Hafiz.